Hey, you want to get yourself an investment property? This is the video for you.
You better get fired up.
All right, guys, I appreciate you joining me today. Happy Friday, man. We made it. Doesn't that feel awesome? Today, I want to talk about investment properties. I've got a lot of experience with a multitude of different investment properties. I've helped a lot of people become first-time real estate investors, which is always fun. So whether you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, if you've got comments, questions, anything like that, put them in the comments and I will absolutely see them and respond to them before this video is over. If you've got comments because you're watching this video after it's been live, still put them in the comments and I will get back to them absolutely within a day. So there are different ways to invest in real estate that are pretty common. In all honesty, I could do a 10-hour video going over all the different ways to invest in real estate, but I'm going to go over a couple of the more common ways to invest in real estate, right? And the two biggest opportunities that I see to invest in real estate that I've got a lot of experience with are flippers and rentals, right? So with flippers, you're buying a property, hopefully as cheaply as possible, and you're going to go in and do some changes to it to widen the buyer pool, right? You're making the buyer pool bigger. You're making the price point of those buyers bigger. And then when you go to sell it with what you spent on it, including all the costs to update it or make changes or whatever it was, right? You're making a profit. That's obviously the goal. It's a business, right? And it's investment. The other way is to purchase a property and then rent it out. And there's a million different ways to rent it out too. You can just straight up rent it out. You can do a short-term rental like an Airbnb or a VRBO. You can also do like a rent to own where you're taking a chunk of cash down, maybe $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, maybe even more. And you're agreeing to a price and a date and everything when that person's going to purchase the home. There are a lot of different ways to do a rental that makes sense, right? And different things kind of attract different people and their risk levels. I'll tell you, all of these have a level of risk. They have a level of reward. But really what it comes down to is if you're going to be successful with this stuff, you just got to hop in and do it, right? You've got to hop in and do it. The first time you do it is probably going to be the worst time you do it. And I know that's scary. I get it. But literally everybody who's ever made money on real estate has had to get in and have a challenging time at it. Anybody who's done anything, you want to go, get a better looking body, you want to, make your finances better, you want to get into a marriage, you want to start a business, it is scary up front and you're not going to be as good at it on day one as you are on year 10, right? It's obvious. But if you want to get in, here are a few steps that you can take, right? Now, first, let's look at flips. I just want to talk about the basic process. And then I'll tell you the step that I'm going to suggest that you guys take is hooking up with a realtor who's got some experience, maybe another investor who's got some experience in doing what it is you want to do and kind of walking you through the steps. And then you looking at your finances to say, not can I do it? You absolutely can do it. Can I do it now? If you can do it now, great, let's go. If you can't do it now, what do I need to get in place to do it, right? Maybe you need 30, 40, 50 grand. How long is it going to take me to do that? Maybe you want to get money from investors. How long is it going to take me to talk with investors to get that money, right? And then you're going to want to write out your steps, okay? So with a flip, you've got to kind of determine, are you going to be the one who goes out and finds a property, does the negotiation, fills out the paperwork, all that, or are you going to have a realtor involved? Now, if you want to go out and you want to do it yourself, the plus is, you can maybe negotiate a lower price. You don't have a realtor involved. That's phenomenal, right? So now if the seller doesn't have to pay a realtor, you sometimes can negotiate a lower price. But are you in a position? Are you educated enough? Are you experienced enough? Even some realtors out there who've only done 1, 2, 3 sales, man, I don't know if that's enough experience for me as an investor to want to trust myself to be my own realtor, right? Because there are a lot of things that could really put you in a challenging position, specifically financially, but even legally, right? So really kind of looking at how experienced are you, how intelligent are you, how educated are you, and do you think you can get a better deal with or without one, right? Here's a pro to using a realtor. You're going to save massive amounts of time. That realtor knows if you tell me what you're interested in, literally in 5-10 minutes, I can have you a list of properties that'll fit what you need. I can start talking about the numbers, the ROI, the monthly cash flow, all that stuff with you. And I can show you that stuff immediately, right? With you, it might be a little bit more challenging, trying to figure out how to do all that. And then the offer process, right? How comfortable are you with the paperwork and stuff like that? So that's something just to think about, right? And that's a great discussion to have with an experienced investor, realtor, or an investor who's done this before. Just a great conversation. So what's the process look like? The process looks like you find a home that needs some repairs. Now, here's the funny thing. A lot of first-time flipping investors, it's their first time doing it. They'll see the homes that are good candidates for this, and they'll say, dude, that's an ugly house. And I'll say, that's perfect. That's what you want. You're trying to find a home that nobody else is attracted to except investors, because now that seller has a problem that you can fix. Their problem is either A, they've got to go with a buyer pool that's tiny. It's pretty much investors only giving lowball offers, or they're going to have to go fix all those things, which is a lot of cash. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of risk. And then they're essentially doing the flip themselves, right? And a lot of people just don't want to deal with that. They don't want the discomfort or anything like that. They want the convenience of getting out of it now. And it takes them a while mentally to buy into the price that they're going to have to sell at. But I would guess 70, 80% of people would rather sell at a lower price. I'm talking if you need 50, 60, 70 plus $1,000 worth of effort put into a property. Most people are going to choose convenience and a lower price than doing it themselves. Most people are also going to sit on a higher price for a while, and they're going to have to feel the pain. And then after a while, they're finally going to say, you know what? Let's drop the price. So it does take time. It's pretty challenging as an investor to get somebody to bite on an investor's offer in 15 days, 30 days. Sometimes you need the property to sit for 60, 90, 120 days, right? Not always, but generally speaking. So now you purchase the property, right? And you should have already done your math up front, but we're going to talk about what some of that math looks like. But what you're looking at is, okay, I'm going to purchase the property. There's a cost. I've got closing costs. There's a cost. I've got all the remodels, the changes, the fixes, the updates, the repairs, whatever it is that I think I want to do, right? So there is another list of expenses, right? And really having relationships with great vendors, with handymen, with flooring companies, with roofers, window guys, cabinet guys, all that different stuff is absolutely critical, because you want to be able to quickly get numbers, and you want those numbers to be as accurate as possible, right? So the processes matter too. It's pretty challenging to get 6 different vendors throughout a house that you don't even own in a pretty decent amount of time to be able to get those estimates. Oh, by the way, if you're an investor and you're looking at 20 properties before you put an offer in, how many plumbers are going to go look at 20 properties to give you estimates? Not a lot, right? So you've got to have a level of confidence in yourself. You've got to get really good at making videos, taking photos, sending it to your vendors, building those relationships out, and letting them know, giving them some sort of confidence in you that you're actually going to move forward. If they don't believe you're going to move forward, they're not going to do a lot of that work with you, right? So the most challenging sale for that reason alone is going to be your first sale. Once they see that you will do it and you'll pull the trigger, and they know they've got a deal coming, they'll invest the time looking at your photos and videos to give you responses to how much things are going to cost, right? So now you've got all those costs, right? Then when you got to sell the property, you've got all those closing costs that you want to take into consideration, right? So all of those costs need to be figured in, and you're going to want to do a market analysis or have a realtor do a market analysis for you to show you that this home that you're buying for $150, once you do all the things that you're suggesting you're going to do, what is that home going to sell for? That's the big question. If it's going to sell for $300, $350, $450, whatever it is, now you've got expectation management. You can run your numbers off of that. So for example, I don't even care what somebody's asking. It doesn't matter what they're asking. All that tells me is how close we are to reality. But if there's a home that I think I can sell for $400,000, and I know that with closing costs up front, closing costs at the end, and all the repair, update, whatever costs I've got in the middle, let's say all of that is $150,000. 400 minus 150 is 250. How much profit do I want to make? And that's up to you. But let's say it's $40,000. Cool. 250 minus 40 is 210. I can offer 210 on that property. Now, if you're asking 210, I'm going to give you a full price offer. If you're asking 250, 300, a million, I don't care. I'm going to offer you 210. All your asking price tells me is how realistic you are to where I need to be, right? And when you've got a property that needs a significant amount of work, I'm telling you from experience, the buyer pool is so small, all you've got is investors. That's it. So only people who are interested in doing a flip and making a profit are going to be interested, right? And a lot of times people at a minimum are looking at $15,000, $20,000 per profit, but some of these guys are looking for $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 plus. Now, I know a lot of you guys watch HGTV, so you're thinking, hey, I know these guys who make 80 grand, 100 grand, 150 grand flipping homes. I'm telling you, that is not the norm, especially down here in South Florida. And this is a bigger priced market, right? That's not traditionally what we're seeing. We're seeing $15,000, $20,000, maybe $25,000, $30,000 on a typical flip. So if you're trying to make $100,000 a year, you're absolutely going to want to flip 4, 5, 6 houses throughout the span of a year, right? This needs to be a process, a streamlined process that you're moving forward with if this is something you're trying to do long term. If you're trying to punch out 1 or 2 of these a year to supplement your income, then I would say, okay, how good of a handyman are you? How good are you at putting in cabinets and redoing roofs and all that stuff? And if you can do that and you can put the time and effort in and you do a quality job, I can't tell you how many of these flips I see where they don't do a quality job. And then it's even tougher to sell than it would have been, right? So if you can do a quality job, you can run your numbers and you can sell yet making a profit, now you're in a great position, right? So another big thing that I want to talk about before we move on to rentals is the type of financing you get. If you're all cash, that's incredibly easy, right? But how many people are all cash? Not a lot. Most people are going to start out with $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. Maybe they're going to go get another investor involved and they're going to pay them a certain amount. And then you're going to have some financing involved and you're going to be paying an amount on that. You're going to have upfront costs, closing costs, and then you're also going to have holding costs, right? Every month, you're going to pay interest on that loan. So those are all things to consider. Anytime I get a cash position involved, it's super easy, but the ROI on your money becomes a little bit more challenging because you're so heavy cash. But anytime you're funded, you've got increased costs. So it's easier to get in, it's easier to leverage, but of course the profit at the end is going to be a little bit less too, right? So there's no right or wrong way to do it really at the end of the day. The question is, which funding scenario leaves the most in my pocket and makes it the most convenient and easy for me to sell this property successfully? That's really what you're looking for at the end of the day, right? So there we've talked a little bit about flipping. How does renting work? Now, again, you can literally just rent it out like a normal 12-month rental. You can do shorter term like Airbnbs, VRBOs, and there's reasons you would want to do either one of those. There's reasons you wouldn't want to do either one of those. And then, what we used to do is we would purchase the home and we would offer it as a rent to own, right? So we would have, and this was back in like 08, 09, when maybe somebody was making 200 grand a year and they had an $800,000 home. They lost their $200,000 job. Now they're making 110, still great income, but because they lost their home or whatever debt they couldn't pay, their credit went down. So now they had crappy credit, but a strong income. 110 grand was a strong income, still is a strong income. And so they can pay a chunk of change. They've got $10,000, $20,000, and they've got strong income. They just don't have the credit. So what we would do is we'd say, listen, if you want to purchase this home that we're renting, it's worth to us, assuming you just bought it. Let's say you just bought it for $300,000. It's worth $300,000. If you want to buy it from us, we'll give you maybe 2, 3, 4 years, whatever it is that we negotiate to build up your credit. And then in that time, any payments you make to us, here's the portion of it, which that portion is negotiable as well, that we'll use to pay down the price. And looking at the fact that today we'd want to make maybe 20 grand on it, so that's 320. Let's add the anticipated increase in prices to it, whatever that might be. Maybe it's 4 or 5%. And, I'm not going to do the numbers, but let's say it's 5 grand a year over 3 years is 15 grand. That's 335. We'll sell it to you for 335. You've got 36 months to purchase it. You have to take care of financing. You have to close on it. And it's going to cost you 20 grand up front, non-refundable, right? Now, it's negotiable whether some, all, none, whatever of that 20 grand or 10 grand or 5 grand or 50 grand, whatever it is you negotiate, goes towards the eventual price. That's completely negotiable between you and that buyer, right? But we would generally get $10,000 to $20,000 non-refundable. And we told them, like, we're not trying to take advantage of you. We're not trying to hurt you. We don't want to keep your money, but we want you to have some skin in the game. We want it to be painful for you not to be successful. So there is a motivation for you to work with a credit counselor, get your credit where it needs to be, maintain that strong income, and put yourself in a position within the next 2 to 3 years to be able to successfully close on this property, right? That's the goal. We want to win. We want you to win. We want everything to go the way that we're talking about on day one. So that's the goal. So we typically, if we were taking bigger amounts, $40,000, $50,000, we were going to make that whole thing non-refundable. We're going to make maybe 10, 20 grand of it non-refundable. Just enough to be painful so that they knew, hey, I need to push myself forward and do this. So then they would go through, they'd make their payments. At the end, they purchase the home, and boom, they own the home. If they don't, we would keep their $10,000, $20,000, and we go find another person, right? Is it a pain in the butt to go find new people? Yes. Is it a pain in the butt to lose people? Yes. Is it a pain in the butt to see that when they lose, or when they lose the home and they have to go somewhere else, they damaged some parts of the home? And now we got to take maybe some of that $10,000 or $20,000, maybe all of it, to get the home back where it needs to be. Yes. Welcome to investing, right? Every investment has its risks. It has its rewards. You'll make more money in real estate on average than any other investment that I know of, right? Here's what I like about stocks. They're easy. I call my buddy Jason Young. I say, hey, here's some cash. Go put in some stocks. Those companies are doing all the work. I'm not even paying attention. I'm not a part of it. And those stocks over time go up. Now, short term, they do this. But long term, they always go up, right? Maybe not an individual stock, but I'm buying into the S&P 500. It's always gone up over time. With real estate, there's a little bit more input. There's a little bit more risk. There's a little bit more cash. There's a little bit more experience needed. But if you do it, you'll never find something where you'll make more money, in my opinion, right? At least not consistently. So really the question is this something you're serious about doing? I've been approached by a lot of people who've talked about doing it. I've seen maybe 5% of them actually pull the trigger and do it. And I can't suggest strongly enough, the first 2 or 3 deals you absolutely need either an investor with some experience and or a realtor with some, not just experience, but investment experience, right? Getting into a flip, getting into a rental, walking you through those. And then after that, you can decide. Like a lot of these guys will go get licensed and they'll want to be their own realtors so they can make the commission. That's phenomenal, but don't do it on the first couple. I see too many issues, right? You're trying to save a dime, but it costs you $1 to do so. So get yourself somebody, an investor, a realtor, whoever, who's got the experience. Sit down, have a wonderful lunch, dinner, whatever it is. Talk about the details. Get the systems down. There are systems. When you look at a property and you are a professional, you're not analyzing this over dinner with your wife and thinking, oh my God, do we take the risk? Do we not? It's a process. You punch it all in and out of your system either pops say, yep, it makes sense, move forward, or nope, it doesn't make sense, don't move forward. You should get your process dialed down enough where there's no thought even put into it. You enter the data into the system, whether it's an Excel spreadsheet or it's you just answering questions. And hey, out of these 10 questions, if I get 8 yeses, then the answer is yes. If I don't, then the answer is no. Whatever your system is, and that's where the experienced realtor with investment experience or the investor is going to be able to help you. Whatever your system is, the system tells you whether or not you do it. You want the least amount of emotion involved, right? The more emotion involved, the poorer decisions you'll likely make over time on average, right? The more logical process you have, the better decisions you'll make on average over time. Guys, if you've got any questions or you want to sit down and have this discussion, I'm open to doing a Zoom, coffee, lunch, whatever helps you guys, right? So if you've got questions or you want to start with your first investment property, reach out anytime. Guys, have an absolutely phenomenal Friday and an even better weekend. Take care.